everybody, welcome back to my channel Kimchi Creative. I'm doing this video a little bit overdue, but I still think it's super relevant and I felt really strongly about getting it out there eventually. So basically it's trends that came from Seoul Fashion Week Spring Summer 17, which took place last October. And I know what you're thinking, like, well, that was a while ago, but I actually think that a lot of the trends that we saw both on the runway as well as worn by attendees are super relevant, and they will actually really come to fruition this spring, summer, and even moving into fall. So before moving on to street style, which is the bulk of this video, because I think a lot of people will be able to personally get inspiration from that in terms of like pieces they could incorporate into their wardrobe for not much money really at the end of the day. But I still did want to talk about the fashion shows because there are some interesting trends that came out of them as well. I'm going to talk about my 4 favorite shows. The first one was Rocket Lunge. I'm actually wearing a top sort of shirt, sweatshirt hybrid. At Rocket Lunge, it was a nice mix of punk, sort of 70s styling with just the tiniest hint of athleisure. Just enough where it still felt like familiar and a little bit of a transition. There was just enough of it, but it really felt like we were moving on to something really cool and new and more fun and colorful. There was also a bit of like early 2000s mixed into it, but I'll get into that more in the street style section. Next was Creasy Deem, which also goes by Demi Kree sometimes. Like the official brand name is actually Creasy Deem, but on their clothing for some reason they like to print the brand name the other way around. This brand really epitomizes Korean youth fashion right now. It actually can be seen in a lot of K-pop and K-hip-hop videos. The show itself was very playful and fun, and it was an interesting mix of sort of martial arts styling, boxing details, as well as this very kind of like 70s Brooklyn hip-hop vibe. So I really enjoyed that. Next was Muhong, and that show was absolutely beautiful. It really was more about deconstruction and sort of like high level actual couture in terms of like building garments and silhouettes, and it looked as if like somebody had just like artfully put the clothing in a blender and then put them back together again, but it was like kind of cut up and revealing secret panels and fabrics and stuff, and it was also a continuation of this back trend that's been going on. So like the front of the garment might be quite simple, but then it's like when the person's walking away, you see that there's something crazy going on. Finally was Metro City, and they're actually more famous for their accessories. Like you often see stands and stuff in Korea selling their bags. But this fashion show was absolutely dreamy. It was very galactic and like optimistic space age, I would say. Like a lot of celestial kind of things and like references to planets and just a lot of like sequins and iridescence, but done in a really kind of dreamy way. And even to the end when they all came out, all the models carrying these balloons that spelled out the brand name, it was just great. It was just a really amazing fashion show. So now on to the street style. As I said, I really think that what people were wearing at that fashion week, we're gonna see this coming spring, summer, and even fall. And it's just amazing, like, you know, how these attendees, they come and they just really push the envelope, you know, just so creative in terms of the ensembles and the things they put together. I'm just really blown away every time at their willingness to take risks, basically. Even like, you know, with fear of maybe being ridiculous, but at least they like did something new and edgy, and I just really think that's great, especially when it comes to street style. First, I'm going to go by themes. The biggest theme, hands down, was very edgy, very aggressive, quite sexy, and for lack of a better term, I'm just gonna call it, it was BDSM. And this kind of was defined by a lot of choker collars, rings hanging off of belts and other garments, thigh highs, straps, ripped clothing, and a lot of like black and red. It was very bad girl, bad boy, and this kind of relates back to something I spoke about in another video about the whole Napanam, Napangizibe phenomenon going on, which I think is kind of a reaction, like a rebellious reaction to what's been going on in Korean society. So this trend really epitomizes that. Continuing on with the Korean bad boys and bad girls, but in a more lighthearted, playful way, is a trend that looks very much like it's inspired from Grease, the musical. It's like a modernized Korean update of the 50s. And it's a lot of black and white prints and stripes with like pops of color such as orange and red. Berets and sunglasses are definitely de rigueur, and a lot of accessories. It's still edgy, but it's also a little bit cute and fun as well. Next we have goth leisure, and the name is kind of self-explanatory. It says it all. It's a mix of gothic and athleisure. And this is something we've been seeing for a while in Korea. I think it's getting a little bit more streamlined and clean edged, and it's definitely more younger demographic that's wearing it, kind of like under 25, and there's often a lot of like letters and writing, etc. on it. It's still a rebellious and cool look. The next one is head to toe, and this is where people are dyeing their hair to match their outfit, or maybe they're matching their outfit to their hair. I'm not sure which one. I think this is a fashion chicken and the egg conundrum. I'm not sure what came first. I should have asked them. Finally, the last theme was, yes, the early 2000s, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, what? Already? We're already there, early 2000s? Like, how can we be referencing that time? I think what happened, I mean, it's only natural, we pretty much cycled through everything from the 90s. These last few years, we've pretty much exhausted that decade. So now we're looking at the early 2000s. And this is really represented by kind of like raver culture, those sort of like oval sunglasses, like caps that are very Quentin Tarantino film, and baggy pants with like a tight top. I don't know, think TLC or Britney Spears, for example, at the beginning of her career. What embodies the early 2000s more than The Matrix, which strangely has been coming up a lot in conversation because with everything that's going on, everybody just feels that maybe we're perhaps living in The Matrix for real. Anyway, that's a subject for another day. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole Neo, the main character from Matrix, like that look is definitely making a comeback with men, like a variation of that. Next we have robes, whether they're an actual robe or a kimono jacket. And this was more often worn by men, where they would just throw a kimono jacket over their outfit. It looked kind of nonchalant, but it was also kind of matched as well. And I think it's just a very easy and cool sort of Eastern and Western inspired look. Next are twin sets, and believe me, this has nothing to do with the twin set that you are thinking of, or maybe you knew it was, which was like a sort of boring cardigan and top set. No, this is like these really amazing matching fashion ensembles, like from head to toe. And they often can look quite sophisticated and even could be worn as business attire if worn the correct way. Coveralls. So we saw once again our friend the overalls. That's been around for a while. But for men, boiler suits have been becoming really popular, and it really started more with the vintage scene because guys were having to kind of scour around vintage stores to find old boiler suits, like actual ones. And now a lot of brands are making new ones because this look has become really popular for men. I particularly liked the NASA suit that this guy was wearing. It is an actual NASA suit. I asked him, he said it's from the 80s, and I was like, where did you find this? And it turns out it actually comes from a friend of mine's store, Radamanta in Hongdae. So if you're looking for some amazing vintage, please go check out his store. Okay ladies, so if there's one thing that you need for next season, it's a pair of fishnet tights. And it's not the fishnets that we normally think of, which have like the really small gauge hole or whatever. It's the one with like the big diamonds. So many women at Seoul Fashion Week were wearing fishnets, but layered under things, like They didn't just throw them on under a skirt. No, they were layered under denim. They were layered under things that had been ripped or cut out. They like even wore them like as sleeves or as a top under something or over a bra. I mean, they were basically the go-to layering item, and they just instantly add edge, but in like a very cool and even sophisticated way to any outfit. So that's just like a really easy way to like kick your outfit game up a notch. The last key item were crystal pleat skirts, or sometimes called knife pleat, and that's when you have like a very defined pleat on the skirt which doesn't go away if you wash it, etc. They're often a 3/4 length. They're just a great styling piece. They've been around for like a couple seasons, and they can just be worn with everything, and depending on how you wear it, it can look very more rebellious and edgy, or it can look super sweet and cute, you know, depending on like your accessories and top. So we saw a lot of these skirts in a bunch of different materials. Next is styling. So first were ruffles. Normally I'm not a fan of ruffles, but these were very bold and exotic ruffles that really reminded me more of the 70s. And they were often in unexpected places, such as on hemlines, necklines, and even cuffs. Next we have like raw denim, which was more used as a layering item. Like it wasn't like just an item in itself, but I love it how these people were like layering it over plaid shirts in different interesting ways. At this season of Seoul Fashion Week, girls are going crazy over DIY denim, and really just making their denim pieces, and especially jeans, their own. By cutting them in interesting places. And this girl, hands down, I mean, I just find her so inspirational. She basically took this pair of jeans and she made it into this half short, half pants hybrid, which you would think would be weird, but then layered over the fishnets and like the whole look, it just all comes together. And I just thought that was so cool that she like cut an entire leg off and then cut this gaping hole on the other side. And I guarantee you we're going to see some derivation of this as the year moves forward, and probably even at Zara. Finally, continuing on with the Frankensteining of clothing, actually just cutting up things in general was a big thing, and people were just cutting off hems or like cutting things in the back of their shirt or on the side, like stitching them back up again, making the stitching look really obvious. It was really about things looking sort of undone, but in an artful way. The last category is textile and prints. So the biggest one by far was velvet, and love it or hate it, I personally love it because I just think the texture is so nice. I just love the way it catches the light. It's just such a nice fabric. It reminds me of my teenage years. But yeah, velvet was on absolutely everything, both men and women. Everything from, you know, tank tops to skirts to shirts, accessories, tracksuits. Yeah, they're smooth, they're crushed in different colors and black, every kind of shape and form imaginable. I really think that velvet has re-entered our fashion vernacular, and it's here to stay. It was gone for a long time. It's made its way back, and I don't think it'll be disappearing anytime soon. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to get used to it. I touched upon it earlier, both with the Rocket Lunch fashion show as well as the BDSM trend, but punk is definitely a big thing, and what people think about most when they think of punk is red plaid or tartan, and I saw this on every single garment imaginable as well, like pants, jackets, skirts especially. Like that was definitely a very popular fabric. So ladies were loving the 70s psychedelic purple prints, and I would like to think that this is a homage to Prince. Finally is the frayed edges trend, which I mentioned a bit of earlier as well, but I mean, it was just unbelievable how hemlines, like the bottom of skirts, of pants, of shirts, everything, it was just like a raw cut and with the strings hanging down. Like, it just looked very unfinished on purpose, and I just think that's a really interesting trend, and I'm curious to see where this will go. One last thing I'd like to mention is the fact that Koreans are very gregarious and like to go out and do activities with each other, and Seoul Fashion Week was a representation of that as well. I just thought it was very cool how groups of people would go out where it was almost like they would plan their outfits together. Like, they must have called each other in the morning and be like, what's our theme today? How are we going to dress? And it wasn't quite like couple look where people were like super matchy, but it was more about being complimentary. and it just seemed really fun, and the people there, it was like they're just having a really good time. And that's what I love about Seoul Fashion Week, is the fact that it is really lighthearted and creative, and people go there because they truly just want to celebrate fashion, and that's the way it should be. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I promise that next time when it's Seoul Fashion Week, I will get on it quicker to make a video. I'll probably be vlogging from there. The next one isn't until end of March, beginning of April though, so we have time. In the meantime, I'll be doing many other trend videos, both on fashion, beauty, and culture. So anyway, thanks for watching. Give this video a like, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.